This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
We did kick around the Arkansas basketball game from last night a little bit, and man, it's a total tale of two halves. And really, it felt like two different teams because three starters that started the first half didn't even play in the second half. And that's the thing that really stands out about this team, probably more so than any of Eric Musselman's teams, including his time at Nevada. Aaron, by this time, 12 games into the season, it's not like you know exactly what the rotation looks like, but you start to have a sense of who he trusts. And right now, I don't think he knows who he trusts.
Yeah. I don't know that I would say any team. So, the one that stands out to me, what was it, 2 seasons ago when Trey Wade was basically barely playing, and then he goes into the starting lineup and they win like 12 of 13 or 11 of 12 or something like that. So, I certainly think, look, obviously you would like to be further along at this time of the year. And I hate to sound like a broken record because I feel like I say the same thing every time I come out with you guys, but this is the gift and the curse of the transfer portal era and of the way the sport is right now, is that some years it's just going to all come together easily. You look at a team, and I hate to bring them up right now, but you look at Kentucky, they got, I think 11 new players as well, and it's just clicked from day one for whatever reason. But there's been years for them where it hasn't clicked from day one, and they've struggled, and, it's taken till January or February to figure it out. As far as Arkansas is concerned, I just think this is part of the deal in this era of college basketball. Now, you'd like to be a little further along. You'd like to have a little bit more of an understanding of whatever. But, the good news is, you kind of, you basically have a week off at this point and then another couple days before the SEC slate starts. So, I wouldn't be excited. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Is it's okay to be concerned. I think there's a difference between concern and downright panic. And I would not be in that second group if I was an Arkansas fan just yet.
Yeah, it's tough, I think, Aaron, when your best player is not a post player and he's not the primary ball handler. So I think that's kind of tough trying to figure it out. And who I like off Kentucky? I like number 1, man. That dude, I think maybe, you wonder, did he hit on his guys? And honestly, we have not figured out who our point guard is going to be yet.
Well, yeah, no, and I think, and I think, the other variable, which I don't even know, I don't think we talked about since it happened, because I think it happened after we were on air the other day. Now you had Keon Menafield back to the mix, right? Who a guy that, I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me, but I think when they took him last spring, they thought he would probably be eligible. Then he immediately wasn't, and he's a practice player. And, when I was down there for the Duke game, I was lucky enough to kind of watch a little pregame practice, and he was kind of the leader of the scout team, running all over the court. Really a 94-foot defender, this and that. And so I just bring it up because now you have to add him back into the mix. And even though to kind of Phil's point, to lead the show, even though he didn't start the game, he certainly finished the game and played quite a few minutes. So that's where I think it gets interesting. And then I think the other thing too, guys, and I was thinking about this with Arkansas, is you look at this team and you would hope that a Devo Davis, and I love Devo, we all love Devo, right, would be further along and whatever. But, he just really hasn't had the season I think any of us expect. And so with Menafield back now, is Devo better as a sixth man like he was early in his career? Is he better off the ball? Is he better on the ball with Menafield coming off the bench? Like, it stinks. Like listen, it's great when a really talented player gets eligible, but it's almost like we're going through the same cycle of last year where it's like, well, everybody's healthy. Now Trevon Brazil's hurt. Now Nick Smith is hurt. Now Nick Smith is healthy. Now he's not healthy again. And it's like, that's sort of what I feel like is going on here. The latest with Menafield, obviously injuries early to Mark in Brazil. You just hope that you can get your whole group together at one point and really figure out what you got and kind of try to get rolling with that.
Well, there's a lot of teams around the country that are adding players because of the suspension of this second transfer rule. But I got to ask about this guy. I don't know if I say his name correctly. Zvonimir Ivisic, that committed to Kentucky, like 7'1", one of the top players in Europe. he's not eligible right now. But this is different than the transfer rules. What's going on there? I know there are rumors that he might return to Europe and not come back, and he hasn't played yet for Kentucky. And right now, I'm not sure if it looks like they need him very much.
Yeah, it's honestly, Phil, it's one of the wildest stories. I can legitimately say all my years covering college sports, basketball specifically, it's kind of one of the wildest stories that I've ever seen. We might have to go to break before I get to the end of it. I'll try to be quick here. But, Kentucky's roster, we think in about mid to late June, like all college basketball teams, it was really mid to late July, is set. And then all of a sudden, on like a Friday, there's a report that Kentucky has offered this 7'2" Croatian guy. Nobody knows anything about, but you watch highlights. He's like one of the monsters. He's like dunking from the foul line. He's, whatever. He commits like 4 or 5 days later. And then there was this really weird protracted back and forth. Check this out, guys. The school did not admit him until like October. And so, Calipari, listen, guys, it's the SEC. It just means more. And so the school isn't admitting him. He finally gets over here. Then there's issues with the NCAA. And so this whole thing has really just been slowed down. And I think, his camp and the Kentucky administration, I think, has done a good job of kind of getting this news to the forefront of, like, this kid came over here. He wants to play college basketball. He's been going to class. I saw he put out a statement where he said he has a 3.5 GPA. To go back to when the school didn't officially admit him, he's a good student. He speaks, English, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Like, it isn't as though he can't do the schoolwork or whatever. So the school admitted him. He's clearly capable of doing the schoolwork, and now we have another NCAA hiccup. And so it's just another weird thing. But I think to your point, Phil, Kentucky has really, over the probably last 3 or 4 days, really kind of heightened up the public pressure on the NCAA to try to get this kid eligible, because I think they're frustrated with the whole situation.
Hey, Aaron, I see your Huskies are 10-2. I was going to try to see if you think they can repeat. The last team to repeat was the 06-07 Florida Gators. And right now, if you were to say who is the best team in college basketball, is it Purdue with their guards and their big guy, or their kind of their lack of their guards with their big guy? But who would you have as the number one team right now?
I know it's weird because they just lost to Purdue, but I still think Arizona's the best team I've seen. They bounced back really nicely with the win over Alabama the other night. As far as UConn's concerned, so 2 quick things. One, yes, I think they can repeat, but 2, you want to talk about a repeat, it's a very weird thing, guys, is they dominate out-of-conference play. But remember, last year they were a 4 seed. Obviously, Arkansas fans know well, because they really struggled in Big East play. I went back and looked. They were 13-7 in Big East play, which is kind of shocking. I bring it up because they opened up Big East play on Tuesday night or Wednesday night, and they got destroyed by a decent Seton Hall team that isn't very good. And so you sit there and you say, what is going on in Big East play? And then it's the obvious thing of you lose enough games, it impacts seeding, it impacts your pathway, this, that. They would have a very nice pathway as a number 1 seed to play a lot of games close to home. But if they don't figure things out in Big East play for whatever reason, the last year they certainly struggled. This year they start off with a double-digit loss. It's one of the stranger things that I can't quite figure out. The talent is there, but I need to see how this team does now that league play starts here over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
What's going on with Alabama? 6-5, but man, I mean, they've lost 3 in a row to top 10 teams.
Yeah,
good teams. So it's not to say that they lost to Wilmington or anything like that. But Purdue, Creighton, Arizona, what's going on in Tuscaloosa?
Did Wilmington pick up any other big wins? That was a kind of a random school for you to just kind of throw out there all willy-nilly.
I've heard about that. Yeah, I've heard about a win that they had recently too.
I'll have to check out their schedule. Listen, Bama, I'll give Nate Oates credit, man. That, you talk about anytime, any place, anywhere, flies to Toronto to play Purdue, which is basically a homecoming for Zach Edey. Then you play whoever. You play Creighton at Creighton. Then you play Arizona and Phoenix in about a 10-day stretch. That is just an insane schedule. I think 2 things can be true. I don't think there is – I know they're not as good as last year. I mean, we could really break down the depth chart when we have more time, but they're not as good as last year. But they have also played an insane schedule. I mean, if they did what a lot of teams do, and I'm not criticizing anybody for doing it, but, more games closer to home, whatever. Like, November and December is to figure out your team for league play, but Nate Oates just jumps 2 feet into the deep end. I give them credit. It makes for entertaining games and an entertaining product. But the flip side is you got to win some of those games. Alabama has it. They're sitting at 6-5. They really have no resume to speak of. They're going to be better for it once they get to SEC play. But on the inverse of it, they also, kind of have dug themselves a hole where they have to be good in SEC play. Otherwise, it's really going to impact them throughout the season.
Aaron, the Hogs go 9-9 in conference play. You just talked about the Huskies and their conference, and the SEC's tough. I see Ole Miss is undefeated, I believe, or they're top 25 right now. But if the Hogs go 9-9, will that be good enough to get them in the tournament?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would depend on who the losses are to and all that stuff. The good thing about the SEC is, Kentucky's playing really well. But other than them, Tennessee has had highs and lows. Auburn, I guess you would say, is playing pretty well. But A&M isn't playing well. Ole Miss is good, but they really haven't beaten anybody. And Chris Beard is just a stud. He's a monster. So, I still think, and as I sit here and look at the Hogs, I don't want to, be a sunshine pumper here, but I still think if you can figure it out, when you figure it out, I still trust that it'll happen. There's a lot of wins to have in league play. Florida's been disappointing. Mississippi State's kind of been banged up. They don't have all their guys. So there are wins to be had. I think, 9-9 is definitely the low end of what expectations should be. Alabama has struggled, as I just said. So I think there's plenty of wins to be had. If you go 9-9, I would still feel pretty good that you're making the tournament. But I don't see any reason why you have to shoot for 9-9 because I think there's a lot more wins to be had.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.